Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new chapter of Old Man Brad. Whether you are new to the show or returning for another chapter, thank you so much for giving me a listen. If you love the show, drop me a review over your favorite podcast app or become a patron at patreon.com/oldmanbrad. Also, follow me on social media on Blue Sky or Instagram at oldmanbrad. My movie this week, we're going away from the public domain horror, at least temporarily. I'm sure some more will come up here soon. But we're going more true crime this week. I'll be talking about the new film that is out, Ed Kemper. It's available everywhere right now. And I also have an interview with the director of the film, Chad Ferrin. I'm excited for you to listen to that. But before we dive into the film, if you're in the Cincinnati area, come out to Frightful Fridays on the third Friday of the month. I'm so thankful to be partnered with the Esquire to be able to host a horror screening once a month. Our screening for April 18th at 10 p.m., we will be watching the 4K restoration of Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. I am super excited to see this up on the big screen. It's one of my favorite Fulci movies, probably obviously behind Zombie. Zombie is just a classic. But come out April 18th, 10 p.m. Let's watch a movie together. All right, let's move into Ed Kemper.
Hello, Santa Cruz Police Department.
Malone speaking. I'm all finished now.
Hello?
Anybody there?
Hey, there's sunshine in this endless June.
And this apparently was a grisly pattern set in the death of a girl whose body parts were found scattered from here in Santa Cruz to all over the state.
Hey there! Kind of out here all by yourself, aren't you? You know, I don't want to scare you or anything, but you know, some pretty horrible things have been happening. I don't like the idea of leaving you out here like this.
There's something seriously wrong with him. I mean, I feel guilty as his mother, but he's just not right.
Hey, Ma. I hope you're happy now.
Based on actual events of American serial killer Edmund Kemper, who murdered his grandparents at age 15, and after being paroled for that crime, killed 8 women in 1972 and 1973, including his own mother. This is co-written and directed by Chad Ferrin. It stars Brendan Kirk, Lou Temple, Robert Miano, Cassandra Gava, and many others. This is out everywhere right now. You can go rent it. I'll tell you, go check out this movie. I'm not going to get too deep into it right now, but this was an interesting watch for sure. You'll hear a little more of some behind the scenes and kind of about that here with my interview with Chad. Go check out Ed Kemper. It is, if you love true crime, this has some interesting stuff that I'll kind of dig into a little more on the other side of the interview. Before we dive more into the movie, let's just jump into my interview with Chad Ferrin, and I will talk to you on the other side. My guest today has directed such films as Exorcism at 60,000 Feet, Nightcaller, and The Old Ones. His newest film, Ed Kemper, is out everywhere April 8th. I want to welcome in Chad Ferrin. How you doing today?
Great, thanks for having me.
So what drew you to the story of Ed Kemper?
I had just finished another true crime film called Pig Killer based on Robert Pickton, and a friend of mine on Facebook, Mike Muscal, saw that, and he's like, hey, this is getting a lot of traction, and he had produced a few true crime films in the 90s, early 2000s, and he was like, hey, do you have any interest in continuing with the true crime genre? Because I've got a script based on Ed Kemper through the writer Stephen Johnson, who did Ed Gein and Hillside Strangler, and, would you be interested in checking it out? And I'm like, send it over. He sent it over, and I'm like, this script is fantastic. And, but the sad case is, I make these things for like $100,000 and crank them out in 10 days. If you're open to something like that, then we can, get the ball rolling. And he's like, look, money doesn't matter. We like what you're doing. We want to be, in that arena. And I'm like, okay. So I took the script, rewrote it a little bit to kind of fit our budget and to beef up the mother-son connection, which is something I could relate to, having a dysfunctional childhood myself. So those kind of things helped me get more into the mindset. And, before we knew it, we were shooting and having a good time. And I sent the rough cut to Mike and to Steven, the writer, and, for their approval. They loved the direction it went. They, gave a thumbs up. So, that to me was one of the biggest thrills. If you can, make the writer of the material happy. I mean, that's a great, I stood behind that, and I was, pleasantly surprised.
Now, as you were kind of doing a few tweaks and kind of getting into it, did you ever go down a rabbit hole of Ed Kemper, everything that happened in his life, as where you're, getting to spaces where you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know this happened because it wasn't in the script kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. No, it was one of those things with reading the script, and I knew the story because, I had this encyclopedia of serial killers growing up, and it had by alphabetical name. And, I remember reading about Ed Kemper, as a kid and, being fascinated by the story. So when I read the script and found out, it was very accurate to every detail, the dates, the names, everything was pretty much spot on. So I knew I had the right project. And then but the one thing that it differed from was the Akio Ku murder. It didn't have the true point of her unlocking the door, letting him back in the car, even though, she had the perfect chance to escape. The gun was left in the car. The door was locked. She could have grabbed the gun. There were certain things that I was like, oh my God, that really happened, where he was locked out of the car. She opened it up, let him back in, and then he he murdered her and then raped her. So it was one of those things that added that true element of what happened. The other thing that I added was the discussion with the FBI agent at the end. Those were, the dialogue, but in that last bit was taken exactly from what not only Ed said, but what the wrestler had said. So it was kind of pulling little factual things that went down and adding them and beefing them up. And for me, doing true crime is trying to get it right to what happened and the dates and the time period and the clothing and, doing the best you can and try to put people in that period and get a feel for it.
I mean, you're no stranger to horror. You have plenty, slashers, cosmic horror, exorcism, all different range of things. How was it kind of mixing the real life actual events with there is some other elements kind of sprinkled in throughout the movie? How did you go about kind of not going too far one way or the other, kind of mixing them well?
I try to get it, if the fact, he's dismembering a corpse and having sex with it, I'm going to film as much of that as is allowed and have it, whether it's used within the film or not, whether it's a taste issue or whether it's, just comes off realistically. It's good to have as much of it as you can in the editing room and then kind of decide the tone or the graphicness of what you want to show or display. But for me, it's getting down there and getting as dirty and as possible to at least have it in the editing room so you can go back and say, ooh, let's not show any of that. It's more effective, just the insinuation of the sex with a corpse, or, let's show, everyone get naked and let's have sex with a corpse and show it. And, and it's uncomfortable and it's squeezy and it gives you the feeling of, being there but having that ability to choose which direction I want to go is always what I want to do, and film as much of it as possible. And
getting, deeper into Ed's brain, it kind of almost a supernatural element a bit to it. Was it hard not to go too far with that rather than, here's kind of what happens?
Well, you never know, you're not in the room with them, but, from his stories and whatever, and his interviews, and, he's very upfront and open. He was one of the few serial killers that really kind of owns up to everything that happened or the possible reasons that, drew him to those instances of violence. But for me, it was kind of taking my own things that happened to me, whether a childhood trauma or abuse or whatever it is, and you carry that shit with you, but you got to use it for something. So I try to put myself in his place, or for the Susan Prever character, the role of his mother, Clarnell. The mother did work at the school, but she wasn't in the drama department. So for me, it was knowing that the actress is into theater and does a lot of plays and is in that world, is kind of melding those two things to help her character relate to this character. So she's not just a raging, abusive drunk through 90 minutes. There's an element of something that she can latch on to. Oh, she was into theater. I'm into theater. We've got something we can connect to. And, it helps just kind of give the character a more dimension. And for me, it's also, Ed Kemper is a huge John Wayne fan. I'm a huge John Wayne fan. So I can kind of parallel certain things that I can relate to. So he's not just a monster that you're, spending all this time with, but there's certain things that someone can relate to, whether it's the audience or whether it's the writer or the director, and kind of, not hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but you're able to kind of understand, look, everyone, whether it's Adolf Hitler or, whoever, there are human elements to all of these monsters that at one point in time, whether it's Adolf Hitler's love for painting or animals, you're able to kind of say, well, he's an awful monster, but there's a human side to it. And I try to get some of that in the film, and hopefully that comes across, that you're not just spending 90 minutes watching in this dark, depraved hole. There's elements of, whether it's levity or something that you're like, oh, he liked movies, I like movies, there's things you can kind of connect with.
How did you come about casting your Ed for the movie?
Oh, it was one of those things. We had an open casting call, and we saw about 20 different guys that were all like 6'8", 6'5", all these different heights. And one actor that I had worked with before, Brandon Kirk, who's about 6'4", and finding an actual Ed Kemper that's 6'9" is very difficult. And some of the guys were great. I mean, they were amazing. But at the same time, when you're in the casting session and you're like, do you have a problem with nudity? And someone goes, and you got to just check them off the list, because you need someone who, there's going to be nudity in it. Just like I was saying before, you want to film, as whether it's used or not, you want to get in there and make sure everyone's comfortable and not going to, have a problem with nudity or the violence or the language or whatever. So it's kind of, and all these kind of actors in the audition kind of failed that process. Whereas Brandon I had worked with before, and he's, not only a great actor, but he's a team player, and he has no qualms about, getting naked and dragging his ass across concrete. I mean, he's 100% there, and he auditioned, put in 4 separate auditions, nailed each one, and, it was still a process of my approval, the investors' approval, and, he won the battle. But it was, it wasn't an easy, casting. There was numerous other people who were up for it, but he won the role, and he did a fantastic job.
You immersed him into this character on set, and he became Edmund Kemper. That first, real, scenes with him where you're like, yes, this is it. This is, we nailed this.
I think it comes down to once, they get in that wardrobe, and we had a great costume team that they really got the vintage wardrobe down. And, when he's sitting in, the classic car, and, the smell of the gasoline, I mean, all these certain things kind of hit, and you're like, wow, this is 1973. And, it feels right. And he's got the lines down. He's got the voice pattern down. He's got he's that character. And it's in a way just really kind of a roller coaster of energy that's, going down this trail with all these things of the sensory notes are hit, the sounds, the smells, the sights, you feel transported. And I think that's the great thing about filmmaking. From, being behind the camera, you're able to create this world and be in this world, and you're submersed in it. And it's just an exciting, almost time machine for me that really kind of gets me excited, because, I appreciate those time periods and transporting to those, and hopefully the audience that gets into that appreciates the effort put into it, because that for me was the only reason of doing it, is that we can get those elements correct. Because if you can't get them correct, you're just wasting time.
Yeah.
there's a cell phone there or whatever it is that pulls an audience out of it, or, you all this effort is for naught because, one thing messed it up because it's not the correct period. I remember seeing The Irishman, and, it's getting all these rave things, and I'm watching this, and then I'm a car guy, so when they pop the hood to this old truck, it had the wrong radiator cap. So it's supposed to be like 1948 or 50, and it's got like a 1972 radiator cap, and it brought me right out of the film. And you don't want to nitpick those things, but at the same time, someone's spending millions of dollars. There's a car guy specifically on set that's, manning these cars, and, he should have noticed that. So, I try myself on these little things. Every detail to me has to be right on a period film. And because if one little thing brings an audience member out, you've lost the game.
Now, do you find doing a period piece or, obviously set in a different time, do you find that much more difficult than, say, something more modern to where, just wear whatever, we just throw some clothes on you and we'll call it good?
Yeah, no, it's more difficult, but at the same time, it's more rewarding because you the effort put forth, or when the wardrobe comes to me and say, look, we found these glasses that are from 1942 and they're the perfect, and it's just like, oh, that's exciting. Or this pair of underwear, these panties are vintage from 1959. And it's like, wow, that's awesome. And whether the audience notices or even sees them, it's still, when you put an actor in those things, whether it's shoes or glasses, it kind of puts them into a higher level to be kind of like, oh, I feel this, and I can't remember if it was Harry Dean Stanton had once said, it's the wardrobe. It was either Harry Dean Stanton or Jack Nicholson that said the wardrobe does the acting. Once you put that on, and if it feels right, you are now that character, and I think that's true, because it's like you put this on, it's a whole different thing. The feel of it, the polyester, the whatever it might be, a cowboy hat, these certain things really kind of put an actor in that, it brings up their game. Whereas it's, on most low budget things, it's like, what do you got in your closet? Here, put that on and bring it. And it's just like, well, that, that doesn't really help the actor because they have a connection to their own wardrobe or whatever it is. But I think especially with a period piece, and you get that vintage clothing and they feel that and they smell that, and it really helps them bring not only a better performance, but get more in touch with the character.
You said before, this is you previously did another like true crime movie. And now this one, do you enjoy doing these kind of true crime stories? Do you have more possibly that you want to do in the future?
Yeah, no, I love them. We just finished a one based on Dorothea Puente, who was a landlady in Sacramento who from late 70s to early 90s poisoned and buried her tenants, and, kept cashing their Social Security checks and, living that way. And, another interesting California serial killer that, Susan Prever, who is playing the mother in Ed Kemper, she played Dorothea in Dorothea. So, and she was great. And it was one of those things where in Ed Kemper, she came out in this in this one scene in the hallway, and she's berating her son, and there's this sexual connotation and what. So when she did that, I was like, this is Dorothea, and I cast her on the spot. Just seeing her performance in Ed Kemper was so it blew me away. So I knew she was the right choice for Dorothea. And after that, I'm working on the script right now for Richard Ramirez, The Night Stalker, another period piece, between 1984 and 1985 in Los Angeles.
Ed Kemper. It's available everywhere. April 8th. Everybody can go check it out. I recommend checking it out. What is the after it's released? Will there be like physical releases? Hopefully after. What's the future for Ed Kemper?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one thing. I always put in my contracts, and when I sell a movie, that physical media is a for sure. Whether that distributor does that or not, I have that option, if they don't, to take it to another company, whether it's Vinegar Syndrome or Severin or whatever it might be, and get them to release a Blu-ray special edition, because physical media to me is where it's at. I mean, I love it. And, I'm still watching Betamax and Laserdisc and Blu-ray. And I mean, it's awesome. So for me, that's really the only way to go. So there will be, whether it's this year or next year, there'll for sure be a physical release.
I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with me about Ed Kemper and this new film. Where can people kind of follow along to you to see more about Ed Kemper and kind of what you have coming out after?
Yeah, just, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just type in my name and you'll find me, and you'll keep abreast of all the, the gory details.
Well, thank you so much again for chatting with me, and I hope you come back again to talk about future projects.
Love to. I mean, Dorothea is coming out this year, so we'll do this again.
I want to thank Chad again for taking time out of his day to talk with me, and wish him all the best with this one, and curious to see what he has coming next. He says he has another true crime movie coming. Ed Kemper. This stars Brandon Kirk as our Ed Kemper. I didn't know anything really about him until I got a screener to the movie. I didn't really look much up before I watched it, because I'm like, I don't want to be, well, I read that this happened kind of thing. So I watched the movie, but then I was like, oh, this is interesting. Looking up more behind Ed Kemper, what he did, and everything that happened. So it kind of really helped me kind of fill in the movie after watching it. This movie does a good job kind of taking you down his path, this dark path that he goes. There are some almost, I don't want to say supernatural, but kind of, no, not supernatural, but like darker forces it kind of alludes to in this movie that I wish it would have delved into just a bit more. It did a good job with starting off with what he did with his grandparents and this relationship that he has with his mother that kind of really sets him off to what he ultimately does to these women that he kills. Brandon Kirk, who plays Ed Kemper, he does a good job playing this character. He's got a quirkiness to him, but he also has this darkness to him. And like I said here at the beginning, I wish it would have delved a little more into this dark force or this darkness within him. It does dive into it. Don't get me wrong. But there are pieces that's like, oh, I wanted just a little bit more of that. And it's a very interesting story, especially after kind of looking up more of it after the fact. I'm like, oh, wow, this guy was a little out there. And the thing is, he's still alive, and he has admitted and told the full stories of everything that happened and all the stuff that led him down this path that he did back then. I know it's based on a true story, and honestly, there's no spoilers in the film because you can look up what happened and what he did. I mean, so I'm not going to give anything away, really, but I don't want to give too many pieces away. And now I want you to go watch the movie and let me know what you thought of Ed Kemper, especially if you're a true crime fan out there. Go check it out and let me know. Let me know what you thought of the film. It is out everywhere right now on VOD and everything. Go watch it. Let me know what you thought. Recently I've been giving double features on my way out to go with the movie that I'm talking about. But this chapter, there's a show that I just started watching that I want to tell you about instead of the double feature, because I'm really enjoying it and I want to see if other people are loving it too. Over on Amazon Prime, a new show just came out called The Bondsman, starring Kevin Bacon, where he plays a bail bondsman that is hired, to go after and get people who break bail or, whatnot. And something happens to him. He dies and he comes back because the devil brings him back to basically be his bondsman to go get demons that have escaped hell to send them back. So it's a really interesting concept. I've watched the first few episodes of it. I'm really digging it so far. So that's why I want to do it as my suggestion for the week instead of a double header. I want you to go if you have Prime, go check out The Bondsman. And these are real quick watches, these episodes. They're only about a half an hour or so each episode. So they're an easy watch, a fun little time. And I love Kevin Bacon. Who doesn't love Kevin Bacon? Anyway, yeah, go check out The Bondsman on Amazon Prime. Let me know what you think of that and Ed Kemper. On my way out, I want to tell you, bring home Novocaine. Buy on digital now. When the girl of his dreams is taken hostage, Nathan Kane's inability to feel pain will be his greatest strength in the fight to get her back. Buy what film critics are calling outrageous, original, and wildly entertaining. Get over 35 minutes of bone-crushing extras. So it's available on digital right now, and I have a couple digital codes for Novocaine. If this is a movie that you want to see, it's real simple. Just email me, oldmanbradpodcast@gmail.com. First come, first serve. Let me know if you want a digital code to Novocaine. I only have a couple, so first few people that let me know, I will send it your way. All right, well, that will do it for another chapter of Old Man Brad. Just make sure you subscribe to the show, and you will never miss any chapter, any Tales from Tubi series that I have over here, or my other series, Versus. I'll be back very soon with a brand new chapter. I'll be talking about Marshmallow later this week, so watch for that, as well as another interview. But just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.